Most students, whether they be homeschool, private school, public school, they're not really struggling with math. They're struggling with memorizing. They've been taught in the first couple of grades, first through sixth grade, somewhere around there, to memorize, memorize, memorize. And now they're in the mode of memorizing formulas, memorizing techniques, and trying to find a problem and figure out what technique it fits in. It's like fitting something inside of a puzzle, right? What puzzle, what piece does this fit into? So that's just a technique that means they don't really understand what's going on, and that hinders them as they move on from algebra and geometry and beyond up to calculus and well even beyond that. And so we need some techniques to solve some problems, and you can help them even if you don't remember anything about algebra and you don't choose to remember anything about algebra, because we're going to help you become the leader that leads them to the detective work that they need to do. So this technique is awesome. You can do this again without having to dive deep into the math. When I was in engineering school, when I first got into engineering school as a faculty member, I had seasoned faculty tell me that, hey, it's not that the students come in and they can't do calculus and they don't understand this stuff. It's that they memorized it and they never really understood what was going on, and they tried to take the multiplication and tables concept all the way through. I personally don't like multiplication tables, and that's part of the reason why, but whatever, it doesn't apply once you get to algebra and geometry. You got to think, you got to use your brain, you got to analyze, you got to do critical thinking, all those kind of things that we have to do in math, and of course all the things employers want. So let's talk about the technique real quick here. Is what you are going to do is ask questions of your student when you see them struggling and where they're like, I don't know what to do. And what you usually look down on and see at that point is you see a blank sheet of paper, frustration, pencils thrown across the wall, all kinds of symptoms of meltdown. What you've got to do is now help them get out of that. Because when you get stuck, and this is true in algebra, it's true in anything in life, when we get stuck and we get frozen, we get into a point of indecision, we cannot move. And so simple questions help us to get us moving, simple thought patterns, and you start solving problems when you get in motion. So you're going to put them into motion by doing these three questions. So the first question is, what do I know? So when your student is struggling and they're just looking down at their paper and they're like, I'm just lost. I don't have a clue what's going on here. This book is crazy. Okay. What do you know? You've got this problem in front of you. What do you know? Start by pulling out the facts, right? They do know some facts, and get them to take a pen and that paper that's blank and write down, what do they know? Is there a value for X? Is there a value for Y? Are there two things being talked about? Is there a relationship between A and B? And we talk about in the video on word problems, we'll put a link to that below, is all word problems, all math is relationships. What's the relationship between these two things? They're talking about this speed of the bicycle and the distance to grandmother's house. What's the relationship? And they don't have to put it in math terms, by the way. They don't have to put equations out here. They can just say, it's so many miles, whatever. There's some relationship, right? Is there an equation that's being given here? So just what do you know? And it doesn't really matter. What you're trying to do is get them in motion, and you don't have to solve the problem. You are standing back as the guide. What do you know? What do you know here? And then get them to write it down. And once they get to the fact that, okay, I've written down, I know that. Okay, good. All right, now let's go to the second question is, uh, what am I trying to find? Okay, once you know that, what am I trying to find? This is a powerful one because so often mathematics equations from textbooks from the ACT and the SAT, they're horrible about this, and they do it intentionally. They give you extra information you don't need. And so you can find yourself chasing something and it's not even the answer you're looking for. This happens in life too, right? So, what is it I'm trying to find? What is the question I'm trying to answer? Am I looking for a specific value? Am I trying to find the value of X? Am I trying to find the cost of the box of cookies? I'm trying to find out how many cookies are in the box. Uh, am I trying to come up with a formula? Am I trying to come up with a type of a solution? What's the goal? Now, let them rephrase that in their own words also. They don't have to use math speak. Let them say it in English. What I'm trying to find is this. And and now that they've got that, that's the second part. Let them write that down. I'm trying to find this. And now number three, and the third equation, the third way to solve this is that you're going to guide them through is what, now you've got what you know, and now you've got what you're looking for written down in your own words. Now there's a beauty to putting it in your own words in your own writing and getting away from the thickness of the textbook or the problem. What you know is there. What you're looking for is there. Now, what math tools might help you? What tools may help you? And so, again, you don't have to have the answer, but maybe they'll come up with, hey, substitution or elimination or a formula or a drawing or a table. The thing is probably things they just learned about in the last chapter. Uh, hey, there's some relationship here, but because of these two equations, right? So what is it? And if they're not sure, have them write down something to try, because a lot of times they won't be sure. Okay, try something. Again, the point is to be in movement. And for you, you can just stand back and you don't have to dive into the problem. You don't have to open the textbook and try to understand. I've forgotten everything I learned. Ask these three questions. You can literally write the three questions at the top of the page if you need to help guide them. And just, and you start doing the writing. One, what do you know? Number two, what am I trying to find? And number three, what tools can I use? And teach them this technique. If you do this a couple of times, they will get the hang of it, because this is solving problems. Right. That's what math is. It is solving problems. That's what life is. It's solving problems. I've had parents tell me that they don't remember anything about math, but they use these kind of techniques and they can guide Johnny and Susie and get them through the math. And, Johnny and Susie think they're brilliant. I mean, this is somewhat of a Socratic method, right? Socrates used this to solve problems and to get people to think. So, all right, so this is what we want to do, and that's the kind of technique you want to use. So that's what we teach in our algebra, our geometry, algebra 2 and trig, and our calculus and our other stuff. We want the student to think. We want them to understand, not just be able to memorize the formulas. So there's a link down below to our algebra course. This is probably where most of you are, but there's also some links there to our geometry and our other courses. Also, for those of you because you're in high school, you have to start keeping up with stuff. This is where mom and dad do come in, is your transcript, keeping up with the transcript, keeping up with the grades, getting things ready for if you need it for jobs or college or whatever you might end up into. We have our free homeschool transcript planner down below to keep you focused on the big picture. All right. Give us any questions you got. Love your feedback. And thanks for those who've asked questions and give us feedback all along. Have a great one.